Hello everyone and welcome back to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 47. So today is not going to be a blog style podcast. Today will be more of a discussion type, and we will be going over the lot of recent commits that we had in the past couple months. Some names that will come up are Quinn Larson, Paul Wheeler, Jaden Mingus, Diego Castellanos, Matt Maxon, Michael Moriarty, and Oliver De La Torre, and these kids are committed to schools of the like of Cal Berkeley, UC Santa Barbara, Westmont, St. Mary's, and all the way up to Stanford. So we have a lot of great stories to talk about. So Eric, if you want to get started with it, and just a brief overduction of what we're going to kind of be talking about.
Sure. We train over 200 high school baseball players here. It's the vast majority of our offerings, and they're all working towards the same thing, which is basically to become college baseball players. But the numbers tell us that only 11% of high school baseball players turn into college baseball players. So the numbers are stacked against every single high school player basically achieving their goals. So there's a massive disconnect between what their goals are and what reality is with the numbers. So our approach in here is to basically train the tools that are going to get them to that level, train the tools that will make them the most recruitable. And then really, as we go through each one of these guys, when we talk about these different examples, we'll talk about the things that separated them, like what made them different, what made them commit early, why were they recruitable athletes as compared to maybe the other 89% of high school baseball players that don't make it.
Yeah. So obviously we have a lot of people in this facility that work hard, right? They do a lot of the things right. But for you to be picked out by a certain school that likes you, this is an open question really to anybody. But what do you think that these certain athletes had that was a little different, that made them push a little harder than the rest?
I think just looking at this list, and these guys will parlay off that, like with the exception of Ollie, just because he lives so far away and he does his best to get down here, these guys are in here all the time, right? Like these guys are like the constant faces that we see on a daily basis in here. And that's not an accident on why these guys have achieved what they've achieved.
And most of these guys got teammates here too.
True.
So teammates, so they either carpool or they see guys that they're in class with doing the same things, putting in the work, so they got to too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, definitely everybody on this list, like work ethic is not in question by any means.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, like with Quinn, like we had to keep an eye on it. It was like, which is like of all the problems to have, that's what you want with your with your athletes. So
This is very true. So, I mean, a lot of problems can occur during this time, right? I mean, they're working really hard. Like we talked about, school can be going on. There's a lot of different things. Eric, I wanted to ask you this question because you get to meet with them personally. You have intimate meetings with them to talk about where they want to go to school, what they want to do, all this stuff. Talk about what kind of problems you've seen that kind of overarch with all these kids.
I mean, really, I think the biggest problem internally that each of these kids have, and then kids that kind of walk in the store, whether it's this group or not, is just like, hey, is the work I'm putting in moving me towards my goals?
Yeah.
And like I said, the vast majority of the athletes in here, their goal is to play college baseball, maybe even play professional baseball. So these kids, especially the higher level kids, they get pulled in a whole bunch of different directions. I have my travel ball team, my high school team, my trainer, my parents, my family, my friends, and they get pulled a lot, and really they have finite resources, time, energy, money that they can spend on this process. And so they need to know that when they walk in this door of this building that all their needs are served for them. And like, hey, my effort goes the right place in this building, in this system. My energy gets directed the right way because these guys can help me get to where I want to be without wasting any of that.
No, for sure. And that's kind of goes on the thing of like being able to understand when to say no.
Yeah.
And like you obviously have a lot of opportunities like you talked about, but saying yes to all of them could really hurt you in the end.
One of the main things I say when I talk to a family for the first time about the recruiting process, like the word no will be the most valuable word in your language. Just tell everyone no.
And so I want to relate that back to training now. Like we talk about, and we had this come up ironically, but like that yes coach kind of mentality, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've kind of seen that start to not really be as important, like not just saying like I'll do that, coach, like for sure. Having an opinion that is going to help you and internally what you think about that is, and like being able to make your own decisions off that, I think for these athletes is very important.
yeah, I mean, they have to know what they're doing. They have to understand and be held accountable, just like all of us are with the tech and stuff like that. We know, we can see what's working, we can see what's not, and they have to understand take responsibility of their own skill development, so then they can push themselves, just like we're pushing them at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think our system comes into place is like we can help these kids validate their progression, right? Is like we understand, we know the the metrics that scale out, right? That these college, these pro scouts are looking for, and our reporting helps validate, whether they're progressing or not progressing, and I think that's the support system that us as KPI staff, we're here for them in their recruiting process, and we can show them that with the numbers we have.
Yeah, and just a tangent off that, like how, and this will lead probably into our next topic, but how have you seen the way that recruiting, so to speak, has gone from I just need to see him on a field and then I just need to see how he performs there to actually being able to, well, this is what he did here, this is how he hit, this is how he pitched, and we have force plates to prove that he can get better at this. Like, how have you seen that elevate recruiting?
Well, COVID changed the recruiting landscape dramatically.
Yeah.
And so during COVID, for the 18 months that colleges weren't allowed to go out and recruit, they were still recruiting. And so there was really only one way to do it, which was send them video. And so that was something that was becoming the norm anyway, but then during COVID, it got accelerated. Like, everyone can send any coach in the nation a video right now. So exposure is never the problem anymore. Okay? Now, what we can do different in here is we back it up with data. Okay, so we can send a video, we can send them data, we can send them video with data on it, and really kind of make the presentation much more powerful. Like some of the stuff that I send to colleges, like they're blown away by it, the presentation of it. And it really, that approach combined with the system that we're talking about is really why a kid like Quinn can make it, right? Like, he's been integrated in our system since he was 11 years old. Yeah. Okay, and Quinn wasn't a top 100 prospect. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times the past month people have asked me, like, where were you hiding this guy? Like where did this kid come from? I've never even heard this name before. Yeah. And really, it's a testament to Quinn. He immersed himself in our system completely and just did the work day after day after day. And it was a grinder's approach. Like, a year ago, Quinn was throwing 84, 85 miles an hour. Yeah. And now he's the king of our building as far as the velo. He's 97 mile per hour arm. And it was discussed with him and his family, like, hey, like, this is going to take a lot of time. You're going to have to grind your way through this. And, there was a private moment. I met him in here on a Sunday just because we were trying to get him ready for a big tournament. And I said, hey, dude, like, when everyone else was kind of getting the recognition and you were just kind of, were you just kind of no one? Like, how did you feel about that? And he goes, if I'm being honest, I was a little jealous. But it made me work harder, and that's kind of the mindset that we want in here. And that's that's the value of having dudes around, right? When you see a whole bunch of dudes around you, it makes you want to work.
For sure. And I want to talk about that because you guys are on the floor, and especially more with hitting than anything. But how have you seen? And at the deepest part of it, it is jealousy, right? It's not anything really other than I want to be as good or better than what I'm watching, right? How do you guys find a way as coaches? And I'm not saying like you prod at it, like, oh yeah, you want to be like him, you know what I mean? But like, how do you find that way to where you can genuinely get that kid to enact a state that he's never been in before just by having him watch someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is just the exposure's there no matter what, because we got the leaderboard up there. Yes. So you can see where you're at compared to the people that you think, or that you're seeing that are dudes, right?
And
so
I'm going to cut you off. But if you have not, go look at our post, Virtual Combine. It's a very big thing that we're putting in, that we're implementing. It's massive. You can see your leaderboards, exit velo, velocity pitching. Just go check it out on our most recent post on Mondays, Tuesdays, and then now Thursdays with softball.
No, yeah, I mean, it's the transparency and where you're at and where you need to be it makes it very easy here. Yeah. So it's and that's why I like, guys having their teammates in here or having a bunch of guys in at one time, is because it spurs the conversation of like, how do I do that? Yeah. Or even from a weight room perspective, like, how am I compared to my peers? And like, and it pushes. You're either going to work hard or you're going to shun a little bit, and then you'll find your flame and you'll get going.
Sure. Word spreads too. I mean,
yeah, no,
so you get, I heard Quinn hit 95, 97 or something like that, and even the kids are, which one's Quinn? Guy walking around looks like Superman.
Yeah.
The big one. Like, that guy. It's word spreads, and then people want to know who it is, and then they see, and then they find out he's been here for so long, and he's a product of this system, and hey, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So.
And it really kind of parlays, like, we understand the field has value. We have field operations. Yep. We understand team practices have value. Okay, but if we're talking about getting to the college level, the thing with the most value is big, large recruiting tools. How fast do I throw? How hard do I hit the ball? How fast do I run? It sounds overly simplistic, but that's the original filter, right?
Sure.
College recruiters are looking at thousands of videos every day and going over thousands of kids. What's my filter? I know this guy needs to have these metrics to play at my level. I'm going to start there. Okay, so the metrics aren't everything, but it gets your foot in the door. And you know, Diego Castellanos is a perfect example of that, right? Very skilled baseball player at a young age. His dad's a baseball coach. The kid knew how to play at a young age. There's no doubt about it. Okay, but he wasn't physical enough up until recently to get any attention. Okay, he gained 30 pounds between his sophomore and junior year. All of a sudden, those singles turned into doubles. Those doubles turned into home runs. That pretty good base runner is now a 6'7", 60 guy that's stealing 20 bags. Okay, that's a Division I athlete now. Okay, so the skill's important, but it's not going to get you to that next level. You have to be physical enough to get that next level, and that's kind of, you know, that's what we hang our hat on here.
Sure.
So we talked about Quinn, right? The long process of trying to get that. I want to kind of flip it so people kind of understand we do have a variety of what's going on. We have a recent 2026, Matt Maxon, the dude, right? He is a very outgoing, just a very energetic personality, committed to Stanford, right? Very congratulations to you, Matt. Awesome job. But looking at that from the other side, how do you handle, now that you had Quinn, right? It's the slow play, right? Now you have Matt Maxon as 26, who's already getting the attention. How would you go about that?
It was a much different conversation when he got involved, and you know, they came here for one reason, to get him to Stanford. If I'm being flat out honest. So that was their goal, and that, you know, they knew that this was the best route to get there. And so it was only on the table. That was the only school he would ever commit to. Really, the play for him was just keeping him very focused on building up the skills that would get Stanford to pull the trigger. Okay, same thing. Very skilled athlete. You could watch that kid play one baseball game. All right, this kid knows how to play ball. You know, but it was just that, like, hey, we need to kind of get some more physicality out of him to really kind of get him to kind of get in that level of being in the conversation of committing to Stanford at 14 years old. Now, having said that, we have to give Matt a lot of credit. Okay, a lot of times people complain that they don't have enough time to come in here. They're too busy to come in here all the time. Matt lives an hour away. Matt plays 3 sports. Okay, he's still in here twice a week, and he's still checking in every day about his throwing and his lifting. So, you know, he didn't use the reason of time and energy to not accomplish his goals. He used his time and energy to accomplish his goals. Okay, and I think a lot of athletes get trapped there, that they don't want to go all the way into the system because they want to limit themselves because they're not able to do that because of these you know, BS reasons. All right, we know it's BS. We know the guys on this list, they don't have reasons why they didn't accomplish this. They went ahead and accomplished it. They gave themselves reasons.
And even to add on to that, like Matt Maxon playing 3 sports, traveling, a very social kid, like a kid that wants to be in the know with his friends. He wants to hang out, like, and him making time for all of that is very impressive. But I want to go back to the field aspect. So, recent commit Diego Castellanos to St. Mary's, right? We've talked about this before, but we understand the importance of field practice and then the traditional skill development. But talk about how his process went from, like we talked about, being kind of not really on the radar physicality-wise, can play ball, obviously. Talk about how his process kind of went.
I mean, you know, I'm gonna let these guys talk about his hitting. I'm with him every morning in the weight room, so I know the weight room side of things. You know, he gained 30 pounds. He became a different player. Early on in his recruiting process, too, because he's left-handed, there was a question on should he pitch or hit from a collegiate point of view, like what makes him the most valuable. If I'm being very honest, and he jokes about this, like I told him I think pitching was a play, you know, so just because he wasn't a great hitter, he wasn't very physical, but he had a good arm. Proved us wrong, you know, and he became a hitter. So I don't know, these guys can probably talk about his hitting progression.
No, I mean, Diggy, it's funny. I think he, you could tell, I mean, to hit on what Eric said earlier, it's like barrel to ball was not really a problem with him. Like, the kid is going to figure out a way to hit. He has the hit. We talk about that all the time. He's got the hit tool for sure. And then as he started, I think it was, it had to have been between sophomore and junior year. Once he started getting stronger, then these balls started to jump. Then he started to kind of dial in his focus. And then it was like, then everything started clicking, like bang, bang, bang. And then it was just go, you know? I mean, credit to him for putting in the work to be able to get to where he's at now, because it was definitely a very impressive jump in a relatively small amount of time, if you will, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, he put himself in a position now to where, even at the D1 level, he's a guy that is going to be at the top of the lineup, not 3 and 4, but he's a guy that can impact the game, to lead off a game with not just a base hit and steal a bag, but he can leave the ballpark now. That's in his arsenal, which has been huge with that physicality. So, very proud of him, and, obviously definitely excited for the family, and the overall realm of it, the kid's a good kid.
Yeah.
Inside the classroom, he gets after, and outside, obviously, we know that. But his athleticism is off the charts. His IQ, his intangibles are there, and now that physicality just helped his game tremendously. Getting him on this D1 radar. So kudos to him, and we're still getting after it. I know he's playing football, but we're looking forward to his winter development in the box. Even getting more aggressive and understanding his hot zones. I'm looking forward to his jump for this next year of high school.
He's got some large challenges this year. He's going to get pitched around this year.
Yeah.
Now that's really hard for a 17-year-old to deal with a lot. So it's going to be a good winter for him.
On the field, he's a leader. I mean, and might not be the biggest vocal guy, but he goes out there and he's putting in that effort. Defensively, just makes it look easy, effortless. Athlete, played first base a little bit in high school too. Can do it because he got good hands. He's a guy. He can go over and he still stands out.
Yeah.
Just the way the barrel of the ball that you were talking about. Just the way he goes about it. He doesn't have to do anything great for you to know like that. That's a guy right there.
Yeah. So I want to talk about this a little bit because Diego being in my opinion, one of the best classes I've seen in a while. Right, especially from Northern California, and even in this building, we have some kids that are legit in this class. Do you think, and Eric, this probably is more question tailored for you, but do you think that seeing his friends in that class, either kind of like we talked about that jealousy piece, kind of drove him to do where he wanted, or was it Diggy doing what Diggy wanted?
I think that has to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
That like when your buddies are achieving something, you want to achieve it too, and that's part of being a competitor. When we started as a business, we saw the big titans in our business doing things like, we're going to go after them. And I think with that particular group at Live Oak, you just see the work ethic in that group. I mean, those kids are in here all the time, and it's I'm going to write a blog about it this weekend, but like, it's not an accident those guys have won 2 straight league titles. And they're certainly poised to win the third in a row this year. So. Iron sharpens iron, it really does.
I remember initially he came here for that.
Yep.
He moved out here for that, to be around that, and wanted that to drive and be around players like that so he can be that too.
So we talked about it a little bit, but we had over 60 Division I commits training with us since we opened 2 years ago. That is insane. That's a lot.
Crazy.
And so our system can help high school baseball players, right, and being able to help them aspire to get where they want. But sometimes, like, it doesn't happen for them right away. How have, and this is up for anybody to interpret, but how have we become that kind of essential guide, so to speak?
I think it's just when you walk in that door, your every need can be served, right? I need nutrition help. Yep, got that. I need a strength trainer. Yep, we got the best in the business. I need skill work. We have incredible guys with the best technology in the industry. I need help with recruiting. Yep, sit down and talk to you about that. We have a fantastic system for that.
Yeah.
And so, we can just give them start to finish everything they need. Does that mean every single kid that walks in this door gets recruiting help? No, of course not. Again, you have to be good enough, and we say that all the time. And our systems to get you good enough. Ollie's a great example. Oliver Delatorio kid just committed yesterday to Cal. Drives an hour to get here, right? And that's another consistent theme when you look at this list. There's only one kid that lives in Morgan Hill on this list.
Yeah.
The rest of them are driving here, And with Ollie, he came here injured to rehab, which a lot of pitchers do. We rehabbed him. Then it was like, all right, well, to be recruitable, we got to get a little juice in there, So we trained him in the weight room, trained some velocity with him. And then once he got to the point where it was like, I remember him sitting down with his dad and me and being like, hey, we don't know what to do in recruiting.
We're stuck.
We can help you with that, And then we kind of put into place the recruiting stuff to get him on the radar and then drive him up to a school like Cal, his
now,
values. So.
Just for and just to kind of help give context to what this is, do you think that is unpreparedness from both sides, or do you think that's, I didn't think we'd get here, how do we get here? Like, how do I help now?
I think when you're hurt, and we've seen this quite a bit, Georgia's in it right now, but like, when you're hurt in that recruiting window, you just fall off the radar. No one knows who you are. You're still really good. Ollie was really good before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that we made him good. That's certainly not the case. But just when he got hurt, at the timing he got hurt, for, I think he was out for a little over a year, he just lost that time where you kind of get exposed and you get on the radar. So, like, he was just, it was late in the game by the time he got healthy, and he hadn't had much guidance up to that point.
For sure. And so I want to throw it back to you guys now. Like, I really like the insight, and then the coach's insight as well. And Andrew, you can pick up on this too, but how have you seen the kids coming back from injury that work in the facility kind of give it that little extra edge? And it's not the fact that I'm injured, I need to prove something. It's just they come in with a mindset of, I'm not where I should have been, and I need to get there now. How have you kind of seen that? And even from the side of meeting them from the parents, right? And making sure that they have the right stuff to do for their facility, or for, like, making sure that they have the stuff at home that they need to do. How have you guys seen them kind of come to fruition?
It's just a mindset, right? You don't fully appreciate something until it's gone, right? And that's what I think injuries, that outlook of that perspective helps tremendously, right? Is being away from the game. The best thing you can ever do is coach a game, as a player, because you see things differently through a different scope. And I think that itch to be out there again when you do get healthy, you come back with a different mindset, and it's you're hungrier, you're more appreciative, there's gratitude, and then you're not there to just better yourself, you're there to better others around you now because you've been on the other side of the spectrum, so it's just the mindset now that these kids come in, and this is obviously their willingness and commitment because they got to get here, number one. So then after that, with that mindset, obviously we have the tools in here and the resources to obviously help that process, but it starts with that mindset.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, to hit on that, I think that the last piece of that then is trust, right? I mean, that's the big deal, right? Of like, am I doing the right things? Do I know, like, am I in the right hands to be able to get back?
Yes.
So then I can be exposed if I've missed a window, and something like that. Like, and we do, I mean, it's relationship based here for sure. And that the trust that it takes for a kid to come in and like hope that we can get him back, like it's like that hope that I really hope I can do it, and for someone like Ollie to be able to trust us and be able to go back and do what he's done, like I think is a good testament to that.
I think that's the main thing I was going to hit on is the trust, because I mean one thing, they got to make the phone call to us.
Yep.
That they've searched around, maybe they failed in an attempt, or they just don't like what they're hearing, and then they make a phone call to us, and then it's about just telling them what we do with our systems, and they have to believe in it because they can't sit in here with their kid. The parents aren't in here.
That's very true.
So they're getting reports back, and then then we get emails about how they're feeling or how they did at a showcase or how recovery is going, and then I think we do a good job of marketing that, but it's really just to speak the language, like, hey, it's not just us selling a fake story. Like, this is what's happening in here. And then, as they see that, they see more familiar names, or maybe, hey, I got my recovery here, and this is how I'm feeling now. So then they bring in somebody else, and then now we start building this trust with these parents. And they're more than welcome to call us and then come on in here too.
Absolutely. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about Paul Wheeler. So Paul is a 2024 left-handed pitcher. Recently just committed, which was awesome. Shout out to you, Paul. But they talk about, right, you can either you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink it, right? And we talk about this a lot, about putting the athletes in a situation to succeed, but we don't give false promises, right? You have to work hard in order for you to succeed the right way. So I want, or whoever wants to talk about it, but talk about how Paul's experience in here helped him get to where he is at today.
I think it was just prioritizing that hard work that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's directing it the right way. It's one thing to work hard, okay? Paul didn't need to go throw more bullpens or work on his slider, Paul needed to get flat out stronger and get his velo up to get recruitable. That's it, And that's not saying he's a polished pitcher, he's a finished product, but we're talking about recruiting in this context, and Paul just needed to prioritize his physical development over all the other stuff, and that was made very clear to him.
Yeah.
All right, and we talked about this earlier, saying no. Paul said no to a lot of things. He said no to the extra travel ball tournaments, and he said no to some of these other, a lot of showcases. He didn't need to do that. As soon as he was ready, we got him out there, and it was a fairly seamless process from there. So for him, it was just prioritizing the right things, having a really, really thoughtful approach to the recruiting process. We had a very methodical way we got him out there. We had a very methodical way we narrowed his focus. He went on his visits. He made his decision. And it was just done just the right way.
Yeah.
He didn't waste a lot of time and money doing stupid stuff like a lot of kids do now. He prioritized development and then got out there when he was ready.
And I'll speak on Paul as well. Congrats to Paul again. Is seeing Paul in the last year and a half just grow as a human being. These kids aren't getting recruited and obviously signed for no reason. There's a whole nother aspect to not just their skill acquisition, right? It's like seeing Paul when he first got here, the first 6 months, I think the kid maybe said 10 words a day when he was here.
He was a rock.
He was.
And now you can't get the guy to, be quiet.
Yeah.
So it's instilling too, like them being here, a confidence, and like believing in not just us, but now they're believing in themselves more, and I think that was one of the biggest things I see Paul now, is not only is he walking a little taller with his chest out, but the guy can hold conversation, and that's a huge part of this whole thing, is being able to have conversations with coaches, other players, college scouts, pro scouts, being able to hold conversation and then always ask the why, why am I doing this, and understanding it. And I think, kudos to Paul, and, he not only is in doing the system, but he understands our system very good.
That's very true. And I want to talk to that point because it's very, very unlikely sometimes. Like we get a lot of kids that just go to the facility, they do their coaching, and they leave, and then nothing really changes. And I asked this question doing the social media with a lot of kids that we interview. We asked them, "How has KPI changed your life?" And the answers that you hear is unbelievable. And I really do think that starts from the very beginning when they call you and they sign up for a first session, and hearing somebody's voice that they can trust straight off the bat, that's huge for them, right? And being able to, and we talk about this all the time, having that trust factor in the facility to let your kid go in a place where they can train heavy weights, them throwing really hard, hitting baseballs at really high speeds, right? All things that could maybe do you wrong, we are all doing it the right way, like we talked about. And so now I want to jump to the kids that fall in the cracks, so to speak, right? This game is massive, right? There's so many people that play it that we hear these stories all the time. Like, if I didn't get hurt, I would have been in the league. If I didn't do this, I would have been there, right? Defying those odds, and that's why we got that shirt. And if you haven't seen the shirt on social media, please go buy it at kpistore.net. 1169, I think Curtis might be wearing it. But the meaning behind that is true, right? We don't want kids to fall through the crack. And so this story is going to relate to Michael Moriarty. Congratulations on your commitment, right? Very big, and Eric, I'll let you talk on this after I'm done, but the kid's been here forever, right? And we had some struggles at the beginning, but now talk about where he's been today.
It's just, I was talking to him yesterday. We have big-time guys who train here. We have Stanford guys and Cal guys and potential for SEC guys, all right? This is a kid that got cut from his high school team in February. 99% of kids who get cut from the high school team are then done with baseball for the rest of their life. They don't have it in them to do that again. Especially he's at a very competitive high school. He drove down here the next day, the day after he got cut. He didn't schedule an assessment. He didn't do a form submission. He drove down here and walked in that door and said, "I want to start training here." And we're like, "Who are you, first of all?" like we have a system in place for this.
Yeah.
And he just said, I got cut from my high school team. I have a goal to play college baseball. I'm going to do it. And so all spring, he just came in here every day after school, drove down here. He doesn't live close, and trained his butt off.
Yep.
Really kick-started his recruiting process. I didn't help him till the end, and did a lot of this on his own. And he trained 5 days a week. And I think his velo's up 8 miles an hour.
Yes.
If I'm not right. If I'm not mistaken. Got his velo up 8 miles an hour.
Actually, I think it's 10.
Yeah, maybe 10.
Yeah.
And then the thing is, like, he didn't go, like, he was very realistic on where he wanted to go. He's very academic, so I wanted to go a high academic D3 school. And so he targeted a handful of schools, and he went to some prospect camps, and that's when I kind of started to talk to him about some of that stuff, and really just did it perfectly. And so then he commits to one of his target schools, was University of Puget Sound up in Washington. Fantastic academic school, good little baseball program. And it's just, again, like I said, we get caught up in the big names that train here. That's a story for the other 95% of the dudes that train here. Like look what that dude did, you know. And it's just, again, it's a testament that, like, hey, like, all these reasons about why you can't train, it ain't real. You know, the guys that make it figure it out.
It's so true.
Yeah, I want to hit on
Go for
Michael
it.
too. Is like that's obviously the story, like, that's super compelling,
Yeah.
right? And it's total grit. Like Eric, like 99% of kids will just, you know, maybe they go do track in the spring season in high school, you know, golf. I don't know what else is during
play golf or
baseball.
something. Yeah.
But Mike had a vision and a goal, you know, and at that age, this is a big kudos to him, is like he had the edge of a mindset of, I don't care if I get cut or play for my high school, like, I know where I'm at, you know, as a player,
Yeah.
and this is where I want to go.
Well,
you know,
a lot of times with a lot of successful people, they just don't give themselves a plan B.
yeah.
They just stick to plan A.
No, 100%. And so that is big time, you know, at being, 17, 18 years old, of acknowledging that, you know, of knowing who you are as a ball player. That's a big thing. You know, all these kids, obviously, D1 or bust, you know, I want to make it to the pros. Yeah, we all do, you know, but knowing where you are, what kind of bucket you're in at that stage of development, of knowing I want to go to a high academic D3, boom, you know, of having a plan of attack, whether he, you know, the adversity he went through, you know, so this story is for everyone out there, you know, even the guys like that are training here, you know, who are young, is like, have a plan, you know, have a plan of attack, be realistic with where you're at as a ball player. You know, obviously we're here to develop you guys year to year with physicality. It's going to help, but understand who you are as an individual and be realistic is one of the biggest things you can ever do with yourself. Self-evaluations.
Crazy thing, that's 2 kids from the same school that didn't play last spring that got scholarships.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Separate podcast topic.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Be on the lookout for that one. So, and this topic might bring more topics, so I don't want to say it's the end, but it's the last time I will try to, like, transition into something else. So we talked about it. We're changing people's lives. Right? Realistically, we are giving kids an opportunity that they would never have without us, right? And you could say, oh, that's self-centered. It is what it is, right? The data is proving that the fact that these kids are coming in here, getting better, and we aren't giving these kids false promises like we've talked about on many podcasts, right? We don't come in and a kid says, I want to do this. We're like, okay, we can definitely get you to do that. We'll give you things to do to try to help you reach that goal. It's up to you if you are able to reach that goal, right? We'll help you along the way. We'll be your guardrails. But there is certain kids in here that take that to the extreme. We talked about Michael Moriarty, talked about Paul, talked about Quinn, but Jaden Mingus kind of involved himself and basically made KPI his home for a sense. And I first want to talk about, Chase, I want you to go into, as a hitter, just the progression that Jaden Mingus has made.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, it's the same thing. We talked about this before. It's just the work ethic piece is just insane with all these guys. But Mingus, especially, Mingus hits home a little bit, you know, because it's like he did make this his home. He did work hard, and he had a lot of tools, and he had to get uncomfortable in understanding where he was actually at. And I think that fueled him, just like it fueled all these guys. Gave him a roadmap, allowed him to understand where he's at in comparison to his peers. And he said that's not enough.
Okay.
You know, and that's really what it is. And we were, you know, I mean, supporting him all the way through. And obviously, like, his development as a hitter, his barrel to ball has always been good. We needed to give him, or, like, you know, he needed to work more to get a little bit more physicality. He did that, kept the barrel to ball, and then now he is where he's at. I mean, it's just, he never backed down from any challenge we gave him. And we, trust me when I tell you that we challenged the heck out of this kid. We really did.
Yeah, no. For as quiet as that kid is, the guy can compete.
Yes.
You know, and he loves to compete. You know, and I think, you know, that is that Hollister culture out there. You know, the one high school.
Yeah.
They have to compete.
Yes.
You know, and that's one thing that has been instilled in him. You know, since probably early on. Was the competitiveness. You know, he's a ball player. The guy can barrel the ball real easily. He's not our highest line drive hitter in here for no reason, you know. But at the ultimate is that dude has the competitive edge. Yeah. You know, he may not say a word, but he's gonna say a lot with his bat. You know, and so yeah, kudos to him, man. Well earned, and you know, still a lot to go with him, but. Yeah, good for him. Good for him and the family.
Before we get to you on the kind of encompassing Jaden Mingus, I want to talk to you, Andrew. So being his coach on the field, right, for the past couple of years, how have you seen, when we talk about this, he's a quiet guy, but that dude knows how to lead, right? We talk about Diggy kind of leading with actions as well. How have you seen his role as a leader on that team kind of form as he's started to get more confident with himself?
Just a gamer. Like I've had this talk with him, been open with him about like his game's so consistent. It's built for the long haul, which with baseball, you know, long seasons. When at any level you play at, so long, and I've talked to him. It's like what's impressive is you might be a guy that in a game maybe he falls just below the elite and like won't stand out. But if you go watch 3, 4, 5 games, there's always someone there at the top.
Yeah.
You know, and that's his game. It may miss him one time, but like he's always consistent. He's always pinned bat on ball. He's on base making stuff happen. When he gets outs, they're hard line drives, and it's so consistent that when you play a long season, and you have a guy that's not going to have real, you know, highs and lows, and that can sit there, not just at average, but like sit there near the top the whole time. It's, I mean, what else would you ask as a coach? Right? 100%. Consistency.
I think with Chase kind of hit something on the head with Jaden, and this is on the hitting side and on the recruiting side. Like, just, I think Jaden, when he came to us, like, needed to understand where he was at. Like, you're not a college baseball player at this moment in time, you know? And that's kind of the beauty of the metrics, right? Like, hey, the average Division I exit velocity is this.
Yeah.
You're this. Bridge the gap, you know? Like again, like past that first layer of the filter. Yeah. And, you know, I think Jaden's gained like 35 pounds since he's been training here.
Yeah, it's close to 40.
Yeah, so I mean, he changed himself physically, and we keep saying that over and over, and there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be physical to play this game at the high level. And then from the recruiting point of view, when I talked to Jaden and his family for the first time, I was very honest with them about where he was at. Hey, you're a 5'11" right-handed player. Like, this is going to be hard, you know. You know, this recruiting environment is not set up for the average size right-handed player. And Jaden changed himself physically enough to separate himself from the pack of the other average size right-handed players, which there's in California tens of thousands of them. And like, hey, what am I going to do to separate myself so I get noticed in the recruiting process? And then not only with that, it's like, you know, we were very nuanced and like talking through the situation. Like, hey, here are the different aspects of the schools you're interested in. Like Jaden, I don't think would do great in this super social party kind of a school. Like, he didn't want that, you know. And so then we honed in on certain schools that fit who he was as a person. You know, quiet kid that just wants to grind a little bit. Yeah. And I think we found him a great home.
Anybody have anything else?
I think just a big thing, you know, talking about these 7 guys around here. It's like, hey, there's the Division I athletes on here, but then there's the D2 and the D3s, and we're going to get some NAIs, we're going to get some JCs out of this class, and just know that the path, you know, your path is forward, it's not what's behind you. So it doesn't matter what school you're going to, what JCU, JC, D1, whatever it is, like, find the best fit. We know the vast majority of Division I freshman baseball players don't play all 4 years at their school. It's not, the numbers don't lie, it's not a winning proposition. We want to find the best fit for these guys. Give them the resources and the system to get there, and let them flourish.
Yeah,
it's about playing ball at the next level, not watching it.
Yeah,
you know, like go somewhere you can play,
yeah,
and build those memories, and keep getting better, and get on the field, because that's what you're working hard for. That's what you're in here for. And if you have those realistic goals and spots, you can go out there and play.
And next week we're going to talk recruiting on a roundtable format. We're going to talk some specifics and get in the weeds a little bit. and kind of knock down some of the nonsense that's out there with some of the scouting services and showcases and stuff. And really, like, these are the guys that didn't go do that. They got in the weight room. They didn't go to a showcase on Saturday. They went to the gym.
No, and on that note is understanding that, just like learning should never stop, development never stops. Even if you are at the college level, pro level, there's off seasons for a reason, and we're here to help that development, So understanding even with these guys, just because you signed, obviously they're still in here, but even when you go off to school, is when you guys do come back, we're here for you guys to keep getting after and develop every single year.
All right, thank you guys very much for listening to Talking Points with KPI episode number 47. As you just listened to, this is a story about commits, right? All different types. If you related to any story, any one of these athletes, if you related to them in any sort of situation, please visit kpimh.com and sign yourself up for a session. We would love to get you to where you want to be, whatever level that may be at, right? We'll obviously help you get to where you want to be and live your dream, no matter what the stake is. So please like, subscribe, and follow our YouTube. That'd be very grateful, and have a nice day.